product universe here. President Trump, the cabinet, and El Salvador's president totally eviscerate a CNN reporter for asking a dumb question. This is must-see.
Do you plan to ask
Go ahead. Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CNN.
Do you plan to ask President
Low-rated.
to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly
Which one is that?
deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him,
And
President?
you are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank
Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Could you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant, because they're totally slanting, because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask
Supreme
for
Court's asking to.
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor?
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time. No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked
¿Usted lo liberaría, Presidente Bukele?
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's only
How
How
can I return him to the United States? Like, could I smuggle him into the United States, or whether of course I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you could release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world to the safest country in the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? That's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our country.
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that was refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And
How long do we have to answer this question from you? Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that?
Well, it's illegal.
Why do you go over and over, and that's why nobody watches you anymore? You know, you have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
President Trump, thank you so much. How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, you know, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it.
This was unbelievable to see. Caitlin Collins of CNN asked another beauty question, as usual, asking a question about why we deported a criminal illegal alien who criminally trespassed in our country as an illegal alien who has ties to MS-13. Well, we deported him simply because he is not supposed to be here. He is a citizen of El Salvador. He is not a citizen of the United States. And that's what President Trump, the cabinet, and El Salvador's president uttered to this fake news reporter as we were simply returning this illegal alien home to his home country. He has no right to be in America, as under the law he is not allowed to be president in the United States, as he is considered a foreign terrorist. So for the media to want a foreign terrorist to be sent back to America is completely insane. If he was an American citizen, maybe so, but he is not. He is a citizen of El Salvador, and El Salvador can choose what they want to do with him. We have no jurisdiction with this man. He is not an American citizen. This is a fake outrage in the media over this individual, only because they are looking for ways to tarnish President Trump and to make him look like a bad man. But in reality, President Trump campaigned on this notion of deporting illegal criminal aliens from America, as Joe Biden let tens of millions of illegals into our country unchecked and unvetted. President Trump is following his campaign promise of securing the border and making America safe again by ridding America of those who should not be here, those who are not allowed to be here under the law of the United States, as President Trump is returning people home to their country of origin where they are citizens. President Trump has total authority to deport this individual and other individuals like him because he is not a United States citizen, plain and simple. The media is engaging in phony political games, trying to sway people into thinking that President Trump made a mistake, when he in fact did not make a mistake. He did what he said he was going to do on the campaign trail, and the CNN reporter is totally sympathetic towards criminal illegal aliens. She is not happy that America is becoming safer by getting illegal criminals out of our country because she and her cronies want illegal criminal aliens running around committing heinous crimes so that her friends in the media can report on them. It is a shame that we have media such as this reporter who will stand up for criminal illegal aliens more than they would stand up for the American citizens. This deserves to be shared because this was a fire exchange between President Trump, the president of El Salvador, the cabinet, and a CNN reporter. A fiery exchange where President Trump totally eviscerated the low-rated reporter for a dumb question about returning a criminal illegal alien back to the United States when he is not supposed to be here. An exchange that must be seen and shared as it shows that President Trump is done messing around. But that's just my 2 cents, and you are entitled to your 2 cents. If you want, share your opinion in the comments below, as all viewpoints are welcome. If you enjoyed this informational and educational video, then give the video a like and turn on my channel notifications so that you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and God bless America.